Flying over the Alaskan wilderness is both exhilarating and terrifying. It's the kind of place where beauty and death go hand in hand. One mistake can bury you in snow or send you tumbling into endless forests. Every pilot knows, if you go down out here, you better pray someone finds you before nature, or something worse does. That's what happened on my last flight. The job was simple. Pick up some supplies in Fairbanks and drop them off at a remote hunting lodge deep in the wilderness, right along the edge of the Brooks Range. I'd made the trip dozens of times, and the weather report called for clear skies, a crisp -10 degrees Fahrenheit, and light winds, nothing I hadn't flown through before. But the forecast lied. About halfway through the flight, the storm hit without warning. It came like a wall, thick clouds rolling in and dumping snow so fast my visibility went to 0 in minutes. I fought to keep the plane level, but the gusts slammed me from all directions, shoving the aircraft like a toy in a bathtub. The radio cut to static. The GPS glitched and blinked out completely. The storm threw me into a nightmare, a white void where there was no sky, no earth, just swirling snow and ice. Then the downdraft hit me. The plane dropped like a stone, and no amount of pulling the stick could stop the freefall. Suddenly, jagged treetops rose out of the storm. I banked hard, but the right wing clipped a spruce tree, snapping clean off with a gut-wrenching crack. The plane spun wildly, the ground rushing up to meet me. I don't remember the impact. All I know is that when I came to, the plane was belly up, half buried in a snowbank, and everything around me was broken. My body, the aircraft, and any hope I had of being found. I staggered out of the wreckage into the howling wind. Blood trickled down my face from a gash on my temple, and every movement made my ribs scream. My right ankle was swollen, but I could walk. Barely. I knew one thing for sure. If I stayed with the wreck, I'd die, either from exposure, hunger, or whatever predators came sniffing around. Alaska doesn't forgive mistakes, and neither do its animals. But when I saw the tracks in the snow, I knew I wasn't dealing with any ordinary predator. They were massive, easily twice the size of a bear's, but with long splayed claws. They looked wrong, something trying to imitate a predator but not quite getting it right. And the worst part, there were only 2 prints. Whatever made them walked upright. A chill ran through me, and it wasn't just the cold. I had a flare gun, a thermal blanket, and a lighter from the survival kit. But that was about it. A man with a twisted ankle, a few flares, and some sheer dumb luck wouldn't last long against something like this. The first night was hell. I huddled inside the wrecked plane, shaking beneath the survival blanket, trying to stay awake. But every time I closed my eyes, I heard it. Crunch. Something heavy was moving through the snow just outside. Slow, deliberate steps circled the wreck, like it was studying me, waiting for the right moment to strike. Then came the breathing. Long, wet exhales, like the lungs were clogged with water or blood. I held the flare gun close, my finger trembling on the trigger. Suddenly, a shadow shifted near the edge of the plane. My heart pounded as I saw a shape through the thin metal walls, tall, gaunt, and grotesquely human but twisted. Its limbs were too long, joints bent at unnatural angles, and its face, Jesus, its face. It was like someone had peeled the skin from a human skull, leaving raw muscle and sinew exposed. Its eyes were sunken and black with tiny pinpoints of yellow light glinting in the dark. When it opened its mouth, jagged teeth jutted from swollen gums, and a sick, rotting stench rolled in with the cold air. It reached a long, clawed hand toward the torn fuselage, and I fired. The flare exploded in the dark with a sharp crack, filling the night with blinding red light. The creature screamed, a high-pitched, unnatural wail that sounded like metal scraping on metal. It recoiled, thrashing and clawing at the snow as the burning flare stuck to its chest. That's when I ran. I stumbled through the snow, barely able to keep my footing on my swollen ankle. The wind roared, and every gust felt like knives slicing through my exposed skin. Behind me, I heard it crashing through the trees, enraged and relentless. I limped as fast as I could, knowing the thing was right on my heels. Branches snapped like gunfire, and snow exploded in plumes as it tore through the forest. Every step I took felt like a countdown to death. Then ahead of me, I saw salvation, or so I thought. A dense thicket of trees tangled enough to slow the creature down. If I could reach it, maybe, just maybe, I'd buy myself a few precious seconds. I threw myself into the thicket, branches scratching at my face and arms. Behind me, the thing roared, a guttural, furious sound, and crashed into the trees, snapping branches like toothpicks. I fumbled with the flare gun, my numb fingers barely able to reload another shot. The creature burst through the trees, its black eyes gleaming with murderous intent. I raised the gun and fired. The second flare hit it square in the face. The creature screeched, clawing at its own head as the red fire burned into its flesh. For a moment I thought I'd killed it, but then it staggered forward, even more enraged. Its skin bubbled and peeled from the heat, but it didn't stop. I scrambled backward, tripping over roots and rocks. The flare gun was empty now, useless. The creature lunged, claws outstretched, and I did the only thing I could. I reached into my pocket, grabbed the lighter, and flicked it to life. The tiny flame seemed pathetic against the massive, looming horror. But as soon as the creature saw the fire, it froze. Its sunken eyes widened, and it hissed, a sound filled with fear. Fire. That was its weakness. With shaking hands, I snatched a dry branch from the ground and lit the end with the lighter. The makeshift torch flared to life, casting flickering shadows on the snow. The creature snarled and backed away, its claws twitching in frustration. It didn't want to leave, but it feared the fire more than it wanted me. I kept the torch burning all the way to a lodge. My ankle throbbed with every step, but I didn't dare stop. I could hear it following me, just out of sight, skulking in the shadows beyond the torch's light. It was patient, waiting for the flame to die. But finally, after what felt like an eternity, I saw it. The cabin. Smoke curled from the chimney, and lights glowed warmly inside. I staggered to the door and pounded on it with the last of my strength. A man opened the door, eyes wide with shock as he pulled me inside. "Jesus," he muttered, slamming the door shut behind me. "You're lucky you made it." I collapsed by the fire, gasping for breath. "What the hell, man, is out there?" I asked between ragged breaths. The man glanced nervously toward the window, his expression grim. "We don't know. We've seen the tracks before, but nobody's ever gotten this close." I shivered, despite the warmth of the fire. I knew one thing for sure. Whatever that thing was, it wasn't done with me. It had seen my face, and it was still out there, waiting. Next time, I might not have fire to protect me. And next time, it wouldn't let me escape.